As we mentioned at the start of the show, Nebraska's farmers are behind schedule planting this season's corn and soybeans. Widespread and substantial rains likely contributed to the slower than normal pace. Those weather events could also cause problems for nitrogen that was applied in certain fields across the state. Earlier this week, we talked with Nebraska Extension's Krienke to learn more about how growers can manage their soils.
There's a lot of ways, unfortunately, that we can lose nitrogen. And if we'd step back just a little bit, nitrogen is an essential nutrient. And after water, it would be the second most used nutrient for most crops. We can lose it through leaching, so that's excess moisture going through your soil profile. We can lose it through something called denitrification. We see less of that, but that's when you would see ponded water, literally flooded soils, not just saturated. And then we can lose it through volatilization, which is gaseous loss to the atmosphere from urea-based fertilizers.
Assume this is a case-by-case basis as to how much you lost?
Yeah, I would be hard-pressed to give you specific numbers, and primarily because everything in the nitrogen cycle and availability and loss is based on the weather, temperature, moisture conditions, soil type, how you applied it. So you can control some of those things. You can certainly control timing, but loss is largely determined by the weather.
So walk me through a few of those and how they make an impact, such as soil temp and the way you applied it or the form you applied it in.
Sure. So let's start with soil type, because that's the primary factor you can't change, but you can alter your management to fit the situation. So if we were in a sandier or coarse textured soil, leaching would be the primary concern there because water can infiltrate readily and move through that soil profile. Well, nitrogen, the available form for plants that typically is used is nitrate, and that is not to get too technical here, but it's negatively charged. Soil's negatively charged, so it will leach through the soil.
You're speaking my language. This is not over my head, Brian. Come on.
I'm not saying it is. But so with leaching concerns, because it's soluble in water, moves with the water. That's the problem with nitrogen, is it likes to move with the water, and that's a hard thing to control. Even in an irrigated situation, we can't control how much rain we're getting, and we've gotten a lot this spring.
Okay, so the big question, what does the farmer need to do?
Well, to determine what to do, there has to be some assessment of the situation. Now, there's some replanting going on, or may continue depending on the weather. There is an unknown in a lot of growers' minds of, okay, well, I did put X amount of fertilizer out there, where is it? And so there is no replacement for taking a soil sample broken into different depths. So taking a composite average at those depths to kind of determine, okay, if you applied it at 6 inches, where's that bulk of that fertilizer at now in the nitrate and ammonium form? That's one way to tell. So if that fertilizer is down at 3 and 4 feet, that's a bad sign, because depending on the rest of the season, it's at high risk for further leaching if we continue to get more rain. The corn plants that are up now are very, very early stages. They're hardly taking any nitrogen. And so their roots are going to take a while to get down and start accessing that in. And so that's why we say it's kind of at risk. Now, later in the season, there are tools. After the V8 growth stage, there's different types of sensors, active sensors, imagery from satellites or UAVs, all that good stuff. That can give you an assessment of variability within the field, but those always need to be calibrated against nitrogen sufficient plants to compare, okay, how deficient am I, and can I do anything about it? If you become too deficient, you start to limit yield, and so you need to catch that very early. And so soil sampling is a lot of work. But maybe that's a good thing to do right now if you've put a significant amount of nitrogen out there and you've had a lot of excess rainfall. So if a farmer does, need to apply, and we would recommend in a general fertility management system to always side dress your nitrogen, because timing is critical. The more you put on up front, the more at risk you are. And so if you can time applications to when the crop is rapidly uptaking that, that's the best. But the source you use and how you apply it matters. So if you would put a urea-based fertilizer out and did not incorporate it with moisture, if it was sitting on top for a week or so, you're going to lose a significant amount of that nitrogen through the process of volatilization. And so if you have the ability to do so, side dress it in the ground or water it in if possible. But nothing, honestly, probably beats fertigation as far as efficiency, because multiple timings are possible, whereas logistically that's very difficult to do with tractor-based systems.
We'll link to more resources on nitrogen management and loss on the Market Journal website.